What you doing?
Making a grave. Mama's in a grave, too.
Ten animated movies that will make you cry like a little girl. We all have repressed emotions that we need to let out. Science has proven that tearjerkers are a better stress buster than comedies. The thing about animated films is that no matter how old we get, relating to them is easy. We've all grown up with them and their memories have become a part of us. They've shaped us into who we are today. So Marvelous Videos thought of taking you down memory lane and introducing or reintroducing you to the films that have the potential of taking away your busy day's pain. These animated pictures and animes will make you value your family, your pets, and those around you. Most importantly, they will make you value and appreciate life as you know it. Before we go into our list, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click from you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. Let's begin. Barefoot Gen, 1983. Gen is a 6-year-old boy living with his pregnant mother, father, and 2 siblings. The father is poor and his mother is malnourished, and yet they are happy. Both parents despise war and the economic crisis that it brings along. They are pacifists who wish that the Japanese government left its fanatical ways and laid down the weapons. However, these hopes are crushed on the morning of August 6, 1945, when little boy is dropped on the city of Hiroshima, turning it to ash and soot. Gen survives the blast but finds most of his family burned alive along with many other bodies, some charred to death, the others imprinted on walls because the heat from the blast evaporated them. Only Gen's mother and his prematurely born sister survive, and Gen must do all he can to keep them alive. It's a tale of the destruction of a city and the construction of family bonds. The anime is loosely based on the manga of the same name by Keiji Nakawaza. Some argue that it is Nakawaza's semi-autobiographical tale, and director Mori Masaki left no stone unturned to keep the adaptation true to its source. Very few films have honestly depicted life after the bombing as has this one, and the shades of the story get continually darker with each subsequent event. However, the most beautiful part about Barefoot Gen is that it doesn't seek to blame anyone for the immense loss of life and property. It focuses on the civilians who became collateral damage and never wanted war. It's the low-income families on both sides who lost more than anyone else, and the anime seeks to ask one simple question: why? Mori's animation skills might feel a bit dodgy with cartoonish characters and round faces, but it reaches its highest degree when Hiroshima's sudden destruction is cinematized. A few violent scenes like people jumping into rivers to stop their bodies from burning or maggots feasting on dead bodies only help deepen the film's cause. It's a highly underrated anime that's both compelling and thought-provoking.
Todd, honey, what are you doing over here?
Gee, I just wanted to say goodbye to Copper, but I'm too late.
Fox and the Hound, 1981. A mama fox and her cub come running out of the bushes as hounds and hunters are chasing them. The mama fox sacrifices herself to protect her cub. The film starts on this grim note. Later, the cub is taken under the wings of Big Mama, an owl. She arranges for the little fox cub to be adopted by a kind farmer named Tweet who calls him Todd.
You're such a little toddler.
Her neighbor Slade is a hunter who lives with his hunting dog Chief. He recently brought home a hound pup named Copper. Ted and Copper become friends and vow to remain so forever.
Copper, you're my very best friend. And you're mine too, Todd.
However, not only is this against their innate animalistic instincts, but Slade trains Copper to hunt foxes and other animals. As the two mature by next spring, Copper and Slade become violent towards Todd. Tweet fears Todd's safety and leaves him in a nearby reserve. However, Copper, Chief, and Slade plan to poach him in the reserve forest. Will nature and societal pressures prevail over their bonds? This fable about friendship is a production from Walt Disney with a lot of lessons for its viewers, both child and adult. The Fox and the Hound focuses on how Todd and Copper struggle with prioritizing the characters given to them by society against the promise of being friends for life that they made as kids. In one of the scenes, an adult Copper warns Todd to leave, or else Slade will kill him. In that very moment, the viewer knows that friendship rises above the barriers of species in the animal world and should rise above the barriers of race, religion, and gender in the human world. The songs in the film are beautiful and hold a lot of meaning. For instance, they say you're both being fools, you're breaking all the rules, they can't understand the magic of your wonderland.
They can't understand the magic of your wonderland.
Friendship and love are emotions far stronger and holier than ill-conceived notions, and we really hope you have good friends in your life, friends you can fall back on in times of need.
Oh dear. I think I'm going to be sick.
When the Wind Blows, 1986. Jim and Hilda Bloggs are an old and happy couple living in Sussex of southeast England. Their nation is in a state of nuclear war with the Soviet Union, and a nuclear strike is expected within 3 days.
They say there may be a preemptive strike, dear.
Oh, not another strike.
The elderly couple takes all measures as directed by the government through pamphlets to save themselves in the event of a strike. Unfortunately, their worst fear turns into reality. The couple gets afflicted with radiation poisoning, but their resolve to survive is unfathomable. The shockwaves from the intercontinental ballistic missile indeed destroyed their home, but not their hopes and the will to go back to normalcy. Jim remains optimistic that help shall arrive, but will it? Jimmy Murakami directed this animated film based on Raymond Bigg's comic book named When the Wind Blows. It's no wind, really. It's waves of radiation. The story is about a love partnership's will to survive with each other. With passion that's grown stronger with time, it's their only weapon against a situation they can't control. Murakami is of Japanese descent and knows well about the peculiarities of life after a nuclear strike. He makes the sweet, comic book-styled animation potent enough for you to fear and hate nukes. The dialogues are chilling, and yet they come with a sense of positivity. The main characters totally rely upon and trust their government until there's no government, and yet they trust God. Fortunately, among all the hardships, When the Wind Blows keeps a humorous tone to itself. Jim and Hilda share the typical loving and romantic bond, but get into constant little arguments. In one of the scenes, a panicky Jim says, "Come back, you stupid bitch, and get in the shelter."
Come back, you stupid bitch, and get in the shelter!
Hilda takes the offense more seriously than the nuclear strike and says, "How dare you talk to me like that, James? There's no need for you to forget your manners just because there's a war on."
How dare you talk to me like that, James?
Shut up and get in!
There's no need to forget our manners just because there's a war on.
Shut up!
These little nuances have been so beautifully crafted that by the end of the flick, you'll wish you had a spouse like Hilda or Jim.
Lucy's rabbit's out, look. That's getting in quick. There's a royal rabbit, look. There he goes. Keep torch on, man.
Watership Down, 1978. The story in this film is narrated from an anthropomorphic angle. Rabbits in the English countryside of Sandalford face extinction, an event foreseen by a prophetic rabbit named Fiver.
But it's bad. It's so bad.
Well, now, what ought we to do?
Fiver and his elder brother Hazel go to see the chief about the impending doom, but their plea of evacuating the burrows is dismissed by the chief. Hazel and Fiver gather any rabbit willing to leave and depart, intending to go to a new burrow at Watership Down. But the journey is not easy. They'll have to face predators and other treacherous rabbits. Will life be easy even if they make it to Watership Down? It's a story of brotherhood, resilience, and love. Martin Rosen directed this film as an adaptation of Richard Adams' novel of the same name. No compromises were made in the filmmaking, as the plot's emotional appeal is as high as the book.
Think when we lived in our own burrows, eh? Dry. Soft.
It's a tale about prey animals that have 1,000 enemies and a plethora of problems. The fact that humans don't care about the very ecology they depend on is indirectly the film's crux. It is told from the perspective of a few helpless rabbits who become each other's shield and sword. Rosens kept the animation grounded in reality, hiring a helicopter to make an aerial survey of Sandalford and its nearby areas for the animators to reference. This unfathomable effort is reflected in the content. Watership Down begins with a graphic mauling of rabbits in Fiver's dream, and the story takes you on a sentimental roller coaster ride thereafter. It is nothing like a children's film. We assure you that you will find resemblance with people around you in all the characters, or maybe you will find yourself.
Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Come into the light in the name of Cloud.
Felidae, 1994. Francis is a tomcat who has moved to a new house with his master, who is a romance novelist. In the second floor, Francis finds the carcass of a cat whose neck is slashed. Francis gets suspicious and tries to explore the neighborhood. He soon finds that his house's top floor is the meeting point of a cat cult where members perform ritualistic suicide by throwing themselves on electric wire. There's another catch. All the other carcasses he found were of cats that were in their heat and ready to mate. However, the cult lets only the strongest and healthiest of cats mate with the females.
There are much worse things, Francis. We can get used to anything.
Francis must do something, lest all will be over. Felidae is one of the best animations to come out of Germany, and it is in no way a film limited for children. The themes explored are deep and dark, including those of racial purity, the Holocaust, euthanasia, all wrapped up in tones of sadism and masochism. It starts as a detective film and outgrows itself to become an action-packed thriller with chases on rooftops and grisly murders. Felidae matches the Disney standards and even surpasses at a few specific scenes, but the creators successfully avoid giving it an American undertone. It remains essentially German in look and feel.
A girl, and the chances are that they're his family you can see as well.
I'm gonna kill him.
If you think we've included this one on our list to please our cat lovers, then you're slightly mistaken. Felidae is a bundle of emotions and thrill spliced together into something inexplicable. Talking about the emotional and tear-jerking aspect would be giving away the climax, and we certainly don't believe in spoiling a movie. So watch it to know it, and yes, keep your tissues handy.
I love you.
The Iron Giant, 1999. Shortly after the launch of Sputnik 1 in 1957, a giant object from space crashes on the coastline of Maine and disappears into the forest near the town of Rockwell. Hogarth Hughes, a young 9-year-old boy, decides to investigate the object and finds a giant robot. The robot seems harmless and Hogarth becomes friends with it. However, a U.S. government agent named Kent Mansley comes to Rockwell to investigate and finds something fishy about Hogarth and suspects that the child knows something. He rents a room in Hogarth at his widow's mother's house to keep an eye on the kid. Initially, Hogarth manages to hide the Iron Giant from Mansley, but soon falters. Mansley is a xenophobic agent and does something that puts the town's population in mortal danger in order to kill the Iron Giant. How will the town survive? This beautifully crafted animated film is a tale of sacrifice, courage, righteousness, and friendship. The Iron Giant proves to be more humane than many humans shown in the film, and that will forever remain its beauty. Right from its release, it garnered a cult following despite flopping at the box office.
Get back! I said get back!
A few critics claim that the film was ahead of its time. However, the bond of friendship and affection that Hogarth and the Iron Giant share is outworldly. The two friends go to great extents in order to save each other, not caring about putting their own lives in danger to protect the other. It's as if director Brad Bird made the Iron Giant from a child's perspective, and he has put elements of happiness, action, suspense, and humor in the story whilst keeping it visually rich. By the time the film ends, you're bound to have beads of water in your eyes, and if you're tough-hearted, then you'll settle for a wide smile as the credits roll. If you experience none of these, then your heart is probably made of stone.
Mom! Dad! What's wrong with them?
They don't remember being human. So look hard. It's up to you to remember which ones they are.
Spirited Away, 2001. Chihiro and her parents are moving to a new house in the suburbs of Japan, much to Chihiro's angst. Her father makes a wrong turn and they end up on a one-lane road that leads to a tunnel. Her parents decide to go further as turning back is not an option. The tunnel leads to an abandoned amusement park and a restaurant with amazing food but no staff or customers. They decide to eat at the restaurant, but Chihiro is apprehensive and goes off to explore the park. There she meets a strange boy called Haku who tells her that her parents might be in danger and they should all leave immediately. When Chihiro returns to the restaurant, she discovers that her parents have been turned into pigs. Haku tells her that the amusement park is a den of Japan's gods and spirits, and she must work at the bathhouse of the evil witch Yubaba, where all the faceless spirits come to rest. That is the only way she can get back her parents, or else they will soon become someone else's free dinner. Hayao Miyazaki's Spirited Away is a story of benevolence, love, and limitless imagination. His vision's depth is only comparable to great works like Harry Potter. The animation is visually stunning and vibrant, which makes the whole watching experience a treat to the visual senses. The meticulous process of frame-by-frame drawing is clearly visible, and it has been done so gracefully that the film becomes one of the finest animations ever made. Chihiro is a young girl with an unshakable resolve to bring back her parents. Her generosity and wit are showcased when she tells the faceless ghost, "If you want to eat me, eat this first. I was going to save it for my parents, but I think you'd better have it." We'd be getting chills if we stop for a moment, and only to imagine the trauma she went through after seeing her parents transformed into pigs and being forced to work in a place full of ghosts. But this brave little girl is made of sheer dedication and determination. Although she fears her grim situation, it doesn't stop her from doing the right thing. Spirited Away is an unforgettable masterpiece that will always remind us of Miyazaki and his perception of emotions.
Snitter, stay!
The Plague Dogs, 1982. An animal research facility uses mice, monkeys, dogs, and more for gruesome experiments that often lead to their deaths. Ralph and Snitter are two of the many dogs who are subjected to torture in the name of science. One evening, the two manage to escape the facility. Their initial excitement of freedom is hindered when they face life's realities in the wild, but a grave danger is looming.
The fucker bit me!
Their previous captors are hunting them as it is believed that Ralph and Snitters are carriers of a plague virus. Now it's the whole world against these two innocent canines. This is the second film based on a novel by Richard Adams and directed by Rosen. It brings to light the atrocities faced by helpless animals in research labs, a practice that was quite prevalent until the 80s and 90s. Rosen has made sure that the animation looks as grim as the story itself. The images and visual quality bind the viewer into a gripping and mournful experience. It's grounded in realism and honest to the problems faced by strays. We often say that dogs are our children. Pet owners will relate more.
Go on! Get out, you booger! Get out!
However, Ralph and Snitter are no one's children. No one wants them. First, it was humans who tortured them, presumably infected them with a virus, and now want them dead. They've won their freedom but do not know what to do with it. They're reduced to animals with no one to love them and no place to go. This remorse is reflected when Snitter says,
"They are not masters. I had a master once and I know. Whatever the white coats are, they are not masters."
However, despair doesn't take away their nobility and innocence. All we can say is that the film will make you angry in your bones, it'll sadden your heart and make your eyes wet, but it'll also make you love those possum creatures a lot more than you already do.
Let's go!
Grave of the Fireflies, 1988. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed on August 6th and 9th respectively, and the war ended on September 2nd, 1945. This anime takes off on September 25th, 1945 at the Santa Mia railway station, where a young boy starves to death and by night he dies. A janitor removes his body and goes through his belongings. All he can find is a tin can that has ashes and a few bone fragments. He throws the can into a field, and from that tin can rise numerous fireflies along with the spirits of a boy Seita and his sister Setsuko. The fireflies turn the dark field into a sea of twinkling stars as Seita begins to narrate his unpleasant and prolonged experiences of finding shelter, food, and most importantly, surviving. The only pleasure that they used to get was from watching fireflies at night. It is a beautifully animated drama that stabs your heart with sympathy for the young and orphaned children of war-torn Japan. Isao Takahata's visual depth became a pioneer in the world of animation. Grave of Fireflies takes the viewer on a painfully engaging ride into the horrors of war, but remains pristine in the portrayal of childish humor and character of its leads. The two kids strive and fight real-life problems of the world, but never fail to put a smile on their faces. The hardships they go through finally ended in death, and it liberated them, becoming free and high-spirited when they turn into spirits. That is the depth of the story, and we assure you that you will look at your brothers and sisters with more love and affection after watching this one. While it might move a child viewer, it affects adults differently and deeply because they can really comprehend the emotions and feelings behind the scenes. To say that this film is emotional will be a grand understatement. Waltz with Bashir, 2008. Boaz was a soldier of the Israel Defense Force who served in the Lebanon War in 1982. His role in the military was to shoot dogs so that they wouldn't alert the locals of the villages that his team infiltrated at night. Since then, he has been having nightmares of 26 dogs chasing him and running towards his home. In 2006, Boaz meets his friend from the war, Ari Fulman, and tells him about the ordeal. To Ari's surprise, he himself doesn't remember anything from that period of their lives. Ari visits a childhood friend and psychologist who tells Ari to get in touch with his old soldier friends, as the only way to revive his memories is to speak to them and learn what happened. Fulman then interviews his friends from the war, and a few dark memories come back to him. Waltz with Bashir is a ravaging tale of a man trying to salvage his suppressed memories. It is an animated adult autobiography that completely destroys the conception of what animation can be. This particular film won several awards and nominations, including at the Oscars, BAFTAs, and Golden Globes. Being a documentary, Fulman brings out the grim reality of the war period, especially the Sabra and Shatila massacre, in which the right-wing party massacred 450 to 3,600 civilians. Waltz with Bashir illuminates the psychology of a soldier and the traumas he faces during and after the war, how memory can shield and destroy us in ways we cannot perceive, and how suppression of memory is both a boon and a bane. The animated approach at cinematizing a contemporary war and its repercussions is unforgettable, to say the least. Plus, dialogue and music are crafted in a way to make the viewer feel exactly what the animated characters feel, and trust us when we say that the feeling is heavy.
If you guys enjoyed this video, give us a like, subscribe, and press that bell icon that will help you get notifications. We upload an awesome video every day. Have an amazing day ahead and stay safe.